Hi, it's Testosterone here. So today's video is on 10 testosterone killers. Testosterone levels are at an all-time low. Studies have shown that average testosterone levels across all males are significantly dropping on a decade-by-decade basis. This is a problem because your T levels impact all areas of health. This includes physical, sexual, emotional and mental health. Having low T levels can increase the likelihood of developing medical conditions. This includes a range of things from strokes to erectile dysfunction, diabetes and increased rates of obesity. So as a result, a lot of men are striving to try and increase T levels. The major issue is that most people aren't aware of what is actually causing the drop to occur. So that's why today's video is on some of the secret testosterone killers. The first and probably biggest killer of T is not getting enough sleep, coupled in with not getting to bed early enough. So with everyone's hectic and busy lives, the recent trend seems to be getting by on as little sleep as possible. But multiple studies have shown that getting under 5 hours of sleep considerably drops testosterone levels. In fact, usually in the range of 10 to 15%. So the ideal is getting to sleep before 11 o'clock. This is due to your circadian rhythm. So this is the rhythm with which your hormones are regulated. So being in bed and asleep before 11 o'clock is when the major hormone release happens. If you're asleep at this point, your body can fully utilise those hormones, which obviously includes testosterone. So in studies, it's been shown that 7 to 8 hours per night is ideal for optimum T production. Also, when you get that amount of sleep, you're obviously well rested and you have far more energy, which stops you making poor dietary choices throughout the day, which will then negatively impact your testosterone production as well. So just to recap, aim to be in bed and sleep before 11 o'clock and aim for a minimum of 7 hours sleep, ideally closer to 8. So next on the list is sugary foods. Foods that are high in sugar lead to spikes in insulin. Insulin actually inhibits the release of testosterone production. So what I'd advise doing is cutting back on the sugar as much as possible. Your insulin sensitivity will improve, but also your energy levels, as they'll be more stable throughout the day, and of course you get the extra benefit from higher T production as well. So vitamin D is a steroid hormone and actually impacts the creation of sexual hormones like testosterone. So you live in a country that doesn't get much sun during the winter, I'd advise supplementing with vitamin D. So next up is alcohol. Now I know I'm probably going to upset a few of you who doesn't like the occasional drink, but there's a few different reasons why alcohol negatively impacts your T levels. First off, it's extremely estrogenic. Estrogen is the opposing hormone to testosterone, so if you're trying to increase T, the last thing you need is high levels of estrogen. Second is it's extremely high in sugar, which, as we covered previously, inhibits T production. And third, it usually wrecks your sleep as well, which again negatively impacts your testosterone levels. So this one is, basically unknown. It's steady state cardio. Many doctors, health professionals will advise that you go for a jog as a way to improve aerobic capacity and basically get fitter. The issue with this continuous form of exercise is that the body doesn't get a chance to rest. And when the body isn't able to rest, that causes the stress hormone cortisol to rise. And when that rises, your body literally shuts down and doesn't do anything else. So it actually impacts and inhibits the release of testosterone production. So number 6 is use of plastic products. Now this is a pretty big one because obviously plastic is everywhere. Now the reason that plastic is an issue is due to a few different chemicals. So you've got the main one, BPA, which you may have heard of before, but you've also got chemicals such as BPS and phthalates. Now, these are known as endocrine disruptors. Essentially, they negatively impact and disrupt your hormone production system. So, BPA, for example, will act like an estrogen imitator. So it recreates the effects of estrogen in your body. And when endocrine disruption is taking place, it stops things like testosterone production happening correctly. I appreciate plastics everywhere and it's quite hard to swap out, so I'd start off perhaps in the kitchen, as when plastic is heated, that's what causes the major issue and most of these chemicals to release. So I'd suggest perhaps swapping out cooking utensils for bamboo. If you're using plastic bowls, cups, anything that goes in the microwave, try and opt for glass or ceramic. The final thing I suggest is if you take lunch to work and you use Tupperware, there are now plenty of options which are glass and metal, so try swapping out for one of those. So number 7 is vegetable and seed oils. Now, these negatively impact testosterone production, but to be perfectly frank, it negatively impacts your health as a whole. They are quite hard to avoid, so in the first place I'd advise you look to swap out is actually what you're actively cooking with. So personally, I'd opt for either coconut oil, avocado or olive oil. These 3 oils are a great source of natural and healthy saturated or monounsaturated fats. They're a great source of omega-3 as well, which actively lowers any inflammation caused by omega-6. That's where the stark difference is between these 3 oils and vegetable and seed oils. Vegetable and seed oils are so highly processed that they're mainly just high in omega-6, which is the oil and omega that causes inflammation in the first place. So for number 8, we're going back to the kitchen. So this is Teflon and non-stick. So mainly you're talking about frying pans. The problem with these is, again, they're manufactured using chemicals which are A, highly toxic, and B, endocrine disruptors. So they negatively impact your tea production, but also at certain levels they become toxic as well. So I'd suggest swapping these out. Usually I personally use a ceramic frying pan, but you've got other options as well, such as stainless steel, which are perfectly safe. So number 9 is shower gels and shower products. So again, these are manufactured with our old friends, endocrine disruptors. These products are packed full of various different chemicals which disrupt your testosterone production, but also imitate estrogen. So what you want to opt for is either a brand that is organic or a brand that advertises itself as being free of toxic chemicals. Now, any brand that is free of toxic chemicals, you'll know about it because it's now a major selling point, as about 90% of the brands out there are actively lowering your tea levels that contain these toxic chemicals. So next up is non-organic food. We'll start off with dairy, as that's one of the major issues out there. So milking cows are actually pumped full of hormones. These hormones imitate estrogen, so again, not something that we want. I suggest opting for organic dairy products only. So next we have vegetables. I appreciate that organic vegetables are expensive, so what I suggest is when you can opt for that, do so. The reason that you want to do this is non-organic crops are sprayed with multiple and various pesticides. Again, these pesticides are endocrine disruptors. They're poor for your testosterone production, but at high levels they're also poor for your health. You probably won't be aware, but a lot of these chemicals are actually used as part of nerve agents and for chemical warfare. So finally, meat. Again, organic meat is very expensive, I appreciate that. So I suggest opting for that if it's an option. However, grass-fed meat is perfectly healthy as well. Much the same reason as with the organic crops. Non-organic or non-grass-fed meat, the animals are fed the grains which are actually sprayed with those pesticides, so they still make their way into your system and still cause that endocrine disruption, hence lowering T levels. So those are the 10 testosterone killers. Any questions, please drop me a comment below, click like and subscribe. See you on the next video.